Hello, everybody. I'm going to do a redo of Ann Coulter's Godless America. She starts off the book talking about Bill Clinton ejaculated on a fat, blank girl's face. She then speaks about Mumia Abu Jamal. I think he was a part of the original Black Panthers and was convicted of killing a police officer and does not appear to be his biggest fan. The guy was on Pacifica Radio, specifically WPFW 89.3 on the FM dial in Washington, D.C., for many, many years, doing 5-minute commentaries on the news. I'm not clear if he's still doing those commentaries or if he's still alive. During the process of this book, Anne talks about a movie by Clint Eastwood called Dirty Harry, and another one by Charles Bronson, Death Wish, for whatever reason that she might have had. Let's see. She mentioned about how the ministry has been, I think, maligned today, about as bad as it was years ago, and mentioned a movie by Alfred Hitchcock called I Confess that starred Montgomery Clift. She mentioned a TV series called The Book of Daniel, where the preacher had a gay son and a daughter on drugs. Now, that's not to malign the gays, but at one time, that was considered a challenging situation and probably still is to some degree today. She talks about Bill Clinton having endorsed David Dinkins against Rudy Giuliani, his challenger. David Dinkins happened to have been the first Black mayor of New York City. And oddly enough, I believe Dinkins was Italian. Not Dinkins, Giuliani. And I just happened to have listened to Dr. Michael Savage on the Savage Nation the other day, talking about what he claimed were Italians that were put into essentially concentration camps in World War II, but he says we don't hear that much about it, and claimed that Joe DiMaggio, the great baseball player's daddy, had a fishing boat that was allegedly confiscated during the time of, I believe it was World War II. Let's see. She touches on, somehow I have here in my notes something about Mr. Patterson, a legally blind man and probably the first Black governor of New York after Eliot Spitzer stepped down after his sexual peccadilloes. And I discuss here how, I believe it was Saturday Night Live did a comedy routine, and I understand it's comedy, but at the same time, it inaccurately portrayed people with varying degrees of partial sight. And I have been in meetings pertaining to disabled folks where how the disabled are portrayed has been discussed. As I happen to be legally blind myself, and you may notice me flipping these eyeglasses on and off. Donald Trump was greatly criticized for mocking a disabled reporter, but Saturday Night Live got away with greatly exaggerating and misrepresenting the issues of a legally blind governor of New York. They had a commercial on television with LeBron James where I believe it was LeBron that was pretending to be blind, and then when someone threw a basketball and he was able to smack it down, that supposedly showed that the person was a phony, whereas in reality, there are people that could see a basketball, knock it down, and still have a severe visual disability, which would include maybe not being able to drive an automobile, having difficulty seeing a blackboard in a traditional classroom, and so forth. Now, she talked about Margaret Sanger, who wrote a book called The Negro and Birth Control, and who many claim that Hitler had gotten his ideas from, although I've heard that Hitler also had gotten some ideas from somebody in Germany pertaining to eugenics. And Charles Darwin, who wrote The Origin of Species. So she said that Hitler and Marx got ideas from Charles Darwin, who had the theory of survival of the fittest. Let's see. She mentioned a movie called Runner Stumbles by Dick Van Dyke. And again, this apparently had to do with issues pertaining to the clergy. Now, since she mentioned Dick Van Dyke, I'd like to mention how on the Dick Van Dyke show, he had a co-star, Mary Tyler Moore, who I later found out was younger than Dick Van Dyke, and she was quite attractive, and she used to wear the knit pants and would slap the side of her hips and so forth. And years later, she headlined her own show, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which portrayed a modern woman in the workplace and also starred Ed Asner. Let's see. Let's see. She also mentioned the Scoops trial, which there is a movie about the Scoops trial. Perhaps it's on YouTube. And the Scoops trial dealt with people in court determining whether to teach evolution or creation in the schools, I believe, was the issue. Okay, that pretty much about wraps it up. I wanted to try to do a remake of this and not say as much as I used to. And it's slipping out some now, but I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you type in some comments, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I'd like to alert you to another book review of an Ann Coulter book that I did called Adios America. And I had also did a remake of that, which got more views than the original one I did. I think I redid that one mostly because I cleared my throat in an unpleasant way. So I hope you'll support this one. This Godless book review by Ann Coulter as much as you did the first one, like you did the Adios America. There's also a lot of what I feel would be some interesting comments that myself and one of the viewers, or some of the viewers actually, had written under the Adios America book review. I also have a book review of George W. Bush's autobiography. So please push the arrows and see what other material that I might have that might interest you. Thank you for listening and for your time. Let me figure out. Okay.